Welcome back to Fearful Harmony. Today we have yet another game dev here, father of Respiro, and of course a Toho fan. I think that's the first one we've ever had on our show here. I could be wrong. Oldum77, how are you doing today?
Not too bad. Glad to be on here.
You are a Toho fan, right? I see a lot of.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if I didn't understand who the characters were. I played a little bit. I played one of the games. I can't remember which one, but
That's fair. There's quite a few.
I know the girl with the red bow, Rimu. Is that right?
Yeah.
Let's go. There was a virus. Fun fact: there was a virus where she's a part of that, and it makes you play one of the Toho games to get all your files back. Yeah, ransomware. That's the extent of my Toho knowledge, besides some of the characters. But anyways, yeah. Starting off with a pretty basic question. You're a game developer. What kind of got you into developing games?
Well, it's a bit of a story. My siblings had entered this summer game dev boot camp a long time ago, whenever I was 11 or 12. And when they came home, they had a CD with all these discs on it, with all the games they made on it. And I looked at it and I was amazed. I was like, oh wow, they made all these games. So I took a closer look at it, and it was made with Game Maker 7, I think.
Oh, I love Game Maker.
The old one. And I was just like, hey, that looks cool. So I looked into the files they had created and whatnot, and I kind of pieced together how they did it as an 11 or 12 year old. So most of my game dev knowledge is self-taught from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was always curious about it from that point on.
So was it always Game Maker that you messed around in, or did you try other things?
Mostly Game Maker. I've kind of just been sticking to it. I dipped my toes into Unity a few years back, but I don't know. I can't quite get into it.
No, that's alright. I'm a Game Maker fan, so I'm there with you. But were there any games maybe you worked on before you got into the the Oldum the Oldum catalog before all that was put online? Were there any other games you worked on?
Well,
or just things you made?
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I have a few games listed on GameJolt, around the earlier section. Although they don't appear as before some of the first EXE games I uploaded. I did create some of those games before, my first EXE game that I upload there. It's games what was it, Knuckles Secret Adventure.
Oh, I see it right here.
Defense. So it's older ones, but yeah, they'll list after my first EXE games, but yeah, I just uploaded them to GameJolt later.
So before EXE games, were you kind of more into posting Sonic stuff? Because I'm looking here and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize how many Sonic games there were. Not a bad thing, but I'm just now noticing. I'm
yeah,
I don't know if I'd ever seen that.
Dabbled with a lot of different franchises, honestly.
Franchises?
Because, yeah, it's I'm a big what is it, multi-fandom, that's the word. I have a lot of different games I like, so yeah.
So I do take it from some of the games that you have made. Are you a big fan of the old Disney platformers, from the 90s and whatnot? Okay. Yes. I had a feeling, but what are some of your favorites from that era?
Well, obviously Toy Story is a big one. Aladdin on the Sega Genesis is another one. Those are the big two.
No, those are the only ones I own. I have Lion King on Genesis, but I never really played it. And then I had Aladdin on Genesis, and I had Toy Story on PC. I cannot get it working anymore. When I was working on my ToyStory.EXE video, I had a huge yearning to play it, because I was like, oh yeah, I did buy that, and no matter what I did, it wouldn't work, so I'm a little sad. But anyways, the other ones?
Well, just a bunch of different PC games. There's this old Disney art program I had, on the Windows 95. I can't remember the title of it for the life of me. It's like you could place down like different Disney characters. Like
Was it
Mickey.
Disney Magic Artist Studio?
It could have been that. I'm not sure.
I used to play one when I was in kindergarten on like the computers we had in the computer lab that was called Magic Art Deluxe, and I can't remember anything about the like anything about it, but I remember the case very vividly because there was a lot of just like paint splashes on it. That's all I can remember. I probably played that game for hours too.
Yeah. Honestly, me too. Yeah, other than that, yeah, those are the big ones.
So then let's get into the meat and potatoes here. I'm sure a lot of people are yearning to hear the questions about two of your biggest works, Aladdin.EXE and then the ToyStory.EXE franchise. So when you were initially posting those, what was your reaction to it kind of gaining like attention? Like I know Luigi Kid was one of the big ones, but then people like PewDiePie were playing. I think he played the Aladdin one way back when. Like what was kind of your initial reaction to seeing all of that?
Honestly, it's surprising because when I uploaded my first EXE game, I was only 14, and even then, I saw people on YouTube playing it. I was just like, "Hey, that's cool. I want to make more." So, like literally as a joke, I made Aladdin.EXE. I didn't take much of it because it's just kind of one of the first parody EXE games that was.
So it was a
around.
parody?
Oh yeah, it was 100%.
Didn't actually know that. There's just so many EXE games around that time that were serious that were like that, so I was just kind of like, alright, yeah, that's another EXE game.
That's fair enough, honestly. I remember that era very well.
Do you have any favorite videos you could think about that people maybe have made on one of your games?
I'm a big fan of the Game Salmon's uploads of like his playthroughs of my games.
I've watched some of his stuff. He's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. I just found his commentary fun.
So then I have a couple questions just about the games in general that I was curious about because I essentially bathed myself in those Toy Story EXE games for like almost a month prepping for that video. So just a couple questions, some lore questions. So was Respiro planned from the very beginning, or like was there ideas for it in the first game? Because like the first game is a little, it's more its own thing, but also a lot of story beats that were in the other games are like, oh, it ties back to this from the first game. But
Yeah, definitely. It was more of a. I kind of rolled with the flow there, or I went with the flow. Sorry.
yeah.
I had no plans of making Respiro. It's just kind of something that happened because what is it? I was making the game mostly through 2017, and around that time, that's when Sonic.exe Nightmare Beginning came out, and like that was probably one of the first games that I saw that like actually named its antagonist something.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh, hey, I gotta do something like this.
For me, like the first games I saw that did that were Nightmare Beginning and then Spirits of Hell. Those were like two of the ones I saw that were like, whoa, wait a second. Like EXE games are a game now? That's not right. But then also relating to the first game going on, what made you choose Rocky? I mean, no diss, I love Rocky. Rocky is absolutely, he's my goat through and through. But what made you choose Rocky as the main character? Was it because it was one of the only like fully animated sprites in the original Toy Story game, or did you just really like Rocky?
uh,
Because he's kind of a protagonist for the first two.
yeah. Well, it's kind of the former there, because he's one of the only sprites that were featured in the original.
Because just for the longest time, I just had the notion that I was like, oh yeah, Rocky's just the main character, just like a little silly thing. And then when I was prepping for the thumbnail for that video, when I was in communications with my artist, I wanted to get sprites of the Nightmare Buzz. Because there's like nothing of him online. There's like 2 sprites and like maybe 1 piece of art and that's it. So while I was like looking through the sprites, I look and I'm like, wait a second, there's not that many like fully animated sprites. Oh wait, that's why Rocky must be like one of the main characters, because it was like Potato Head, Ham, Rex, and then Rocky, and then that was really it. I
Yeah.
never really thought about that, but I thought that was interesting. And then, in regards to the entire series, out of all of them, which one do you think has your favorite boss fight in it, and what boss fight is this? Because when I think ToyStory.EXE, I do think like crazy ass boss fights that like, then some aspects like come out of nowhere. Like in the second one, he's throwing laser beams and stuff. Like that's
Yeah.
great. But I'm curious which one's your favorite.
Honestly, I think the one that was my favorite, the program in the Toy Story like trilogy, was probably Woody, the final boss, like from Buzz versus Woody. That one in Toy Story 3.exe.
Oh, the second to last one before
Yeah,
the Woody versus Woody. Yeah.
yeah. I think that one was my favorite of the program.
Why was that?
I used like a new technique I had developed for bosses to like shuffle through a random pool of attacks that I have predefined for them. It's different from the other two bosses that just kind of follow the same attack pattern over and over again, and
Yeah.
like switch it up like with every few hits.
And then between the remaster that just came out a couple months ago and then 3, what do you think you maybe like picked up that helped in improving or changing stuff in the Toy Story.exe formula? Like maybe some ideas you thought of that could improve upon the previous games, or ideas that was like, oh, I should have added that in like previously. Let me throw that in here.
I mean, like for the second game remaster or the first one?
Oh, the first remaster, because there's a pretty sizable gap between 3 and the remaster, right? Because 3 came out
2018.
yeah, 2018. Yeah, that's like 6 years.
Yeah. Well, for one, the coding, it's definitely improved. Because in 2018, the end of 2018, I went to college and like they taught me how to code better. That was one of the things I wanted to do. So my next exe game, Oldum77.exe game, uh, definitely like a lot of the stuff improved in it, like coding wise. But in like regards to the remaster, I've been like really digging deep into the like graphical effects and like
I've noticed that they look a lot. I think in my video I said they almost look 3D in a way. Like when you're
yeah,
walking, the things move. I thought that was cool.
yeah. I actually got that one from, I don't know if you know the YouTube channel Game Hut. It's like
I'd have to take a look.
it's like the creator of the Toy Story game on the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. Like he gives commentary on how he like achieves.
Oh,
certain
they
effects.
made that game? Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
it's
Wait,
the
that's so
lead
cool.
programmer,
What?
John Burton.
Wait, that's
Yeah,
so cool. I never knew that. I'm gonna have to check this guy out.
yeah, and one of his videos was like how Toy Story's mind-blowing 3D effects were created. And so I watched that video and I was just like, oh, that's how he did it. So I kind of incorporated a similar idea into the remaster.
No, I love. It's such like a weird specific thing, but fake 3D and like 2D games. I think like original F-Zero, like Star Fox, stuff like that. Because like it's kind of 3D, but like it's not really. Or like what Donkey Kong Country did, where they made the 3D models and then they turn them into 2D. I don't know. I just got a soft spot for people putting 3D into 2D, and then it's like
Yeah.
almost an optical illusion. I don't know. Not
Honestly,
really,
so.
but it's,
Yeah.
but yeah. Since we're talking about the remaster, there is a second remaster coming out. Uh, Anything you could share about that with us, possibly?
Well, for starters, I am including 3 new playable characters in the mix
Oh,
compared to the original. Because
okay.
I have a 3D modeler on the team here. And he is going to like render the characters. You know, it's like the Donkey Kong Country things. He's
Yeah,
gonna render the new characters and I'm gonna convert them into sprites.
that's cool.
And well, it's gonna be a lot more like arcade style. Like it'll actually have like a points tally system, like grading you for how well you completed the game. I think that'll like contribute a lot to like replay value and whatnot. Because I was always like was impressed like with how gameplay driven the second one felt in comparison to the first.
Yeah.
Because you know you can let all 3 characters survive if you're good. But yeah, I'm gonna lean way more heavily into the gameplay side. So yeah.
It's kind of like how the original second game started leaning away from like the EXE part of it and more into the
Oh yeah.
game part. Yeah.
Like I remember you said in your video, I do whatever I want.
Yeah,
And
no, I appreciate that. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go on a tangent. I saw somebody, I think you might have made a mention of it in the Toy Story 3.exe description. People were mad that it wasn't like scary or whatever. It's like, okay, first of all, I I love the Toy Story games. They were not scary. I mean, maybe it's because I've been playing EXE games for over a decade at this point. But like objective, like the first one, I guess has it. But like the second and third, like you're just having fun with it, and it's easy to tell. If people are getting mad, they're like, this EXE game isn't scary. It's like, okay, what EXE games that are about Woody are scary to you, huh? Like enjoy the actual game being an actual good game. Like that wasn't the intention. I don't know. That really made me like that just annoyed me a bit. 'Cause, like that's not what the intention was there.
Yeah. No, I
That,
definitely agree.
that's why you I think you threw in jump scares into the third one to kind of like satiate that like quote unquote like gap of horror that was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I appreciate you do what you want. Don't like it has the name EXE, but you know, I'm liking this new era of EXE games where like they still incorporate EXE things into it, but they're more a game first because we're definitely starting to see that a lot more now, thankfully.
Right.
uh,
Because I always think the old walking simulator is a little
yeah,
overdone at this point.
that actually does lead into something I wanted to talk about here. You are pretty much a veteran. I can say this safely. Sometimes with my guests, I'm not sure how long they've been in the EXE community, but you've been around even probably longer than I have. Like, 'cause I came along, I don't even know when, but you've been invested in like creating games. And now we're kind of in. It was maybe a little more prevalent last year, but it's still going fairly strong this year, I guess, with like a whole new fan base for EXE games. You have the resurgence of Sonic.exe. You have things like Mario 85 coming out, like completely changing how Mario creepypastas are now. And then like things like Friday Night Funkin' popularizing all of it to like ever loving hell. How is that from someone who has been in the community? Like, how does that look? Because if you're anything like me, you know that we were in a bit of a rough spot, like, come, like, 2019, 2020.
Honestly, I have been mostly an onlooker. I don't generally, follow what everybody else is doing. So, I mean, I have seen, like, the EXE community shift. I have seen other people's games, because when I joined in 2014, that was 10 years ago, it was, like, just horribly put together games and, like, I don't know.
Walking simulators, yeah.
Yeah, walking simulators. But then, like, I felt like it all, like, flipped around whenever. I don't know. So, like, certain EXE games allowed you to get, like, good and bad endings. I guess Lion games kind of had something to do with it. Because, like, one of the first games. Yeah, actually, ToyStory.EXE has a good and bad ending.
Oh, yeah, the original one does. That's right, with the boss fight.
If you can beat it.
I
can't
even beat it
myself.
I don't think I did beat it. I think I just stole Mudahar's footage. I gave up. So, I was kind of talking about earlier. There are Friday Night Funkin' mods and other stuff. Maybe not to like the same point as like Sonic or Mario, but ToyStory.exe has kind of had that same small resurgence, things like Friday Night Funkin' and interest in the EXE community. Have you personally seen any of that stuff? Because I've seen a couple things said about it now that EXE games are like big again. I worded that weirdly.
No, I get what you mean. But yeah, I have seen a Friday Night Funkin' mod. I think it's called Toys Madness. And
That might sound right.
it's something like that. But yeah, I think one of the Woodies that they have in the collection is actually Respiro from my series. No, I just feel, I don't know, I feel weird.
Okay, it is Toy Madness, yeah.
I just feel weird when I see it. It's just like, wow, it's this popular. It's just like a joke, or maybe not a joke game, but like something I made for fun back in 2014. And
No,
this
it
is how big it
is.
is now.
It is really cool seeing things. This might be weird for you to hear, like seeing things that I saw when I was a kid, because like I'm not even like that. I'm 20, right? But a decade ago, like I was seeing this stuff when I was like 10 or 11, thinking about like ToyStory.EXE, and here we are, like all these years later, I'm seeing it come up again. I'm like, that's kind of sick. Like regardless of how people feel about it, it's cool to see this community bringing things back, like ToyStory.exe or do you know Randy Becker, like his work?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've
Yeah,
seen this work.
like his stuff, like the Kirby things, those are getting brought back through like mods or just like in general people remaking these games or stuff, and that's just it's so weird but so cool to see people doing that.
Honestly, yeah. Like I have a big exe like saga. Like the Toy Story the trilogy is like a big part of it, and then like I have an Aladdin.EXE game called A Whole New World.exe at the start. And then, like, the first Sonic.exe and Sally.exe are also part of the timeline. And then it finally ends with Oldum77.exe. It's like the big closing game. Like, there's this a small team of people wanted to get together and, like, create a reanimated version of the entire saga from A Whole New World to Oldum77.exe.
Really?
I just thought
That's
that
pretty
was
cool.
really cool. I was just like, these people want to make an animation for me?
Do you remember what the people were called? If you want to shout them out.
It's spearheaded by Fabrice Rockman, I believe. I believe that's the username. I have a bad time remembering names.
No, that's good.
And also, it's animated by Dark Blue Productions. So, yeah.
Dark Blue Productions. Fonder, throw that up on screen. If you can't find it, message me. We'll find it. But no, that's really cool. But kind of traveling outside of ToyStory.exe for a bit. Do you have any other future projects you'd like to talk about for a bit? Like I know you have a Zelda game coming up soon.
Yeah, the Zelda Nexus. It's like part of this new saga I want to create. It's like getting away from Respira and onto this new entity. I kind of teased about it in Toy Story Remastered. Because, like, I don't know if you saw this video on it, but, like, somebody dissected the whole game, like, found all these secrets. And, yeah, they're hidden pretty well. I actually had to help them.
I was gonna
find
say,
these
where's the
secrets.
secret at?
But, yeah, it points at this new entity called Rovescio. And, yeah, he's going to be, like, the new threat, I guess you could say, in this new saga.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Zelda Nexus is kind of, or the word Nexus in the title is, like, reference to the fact that this is a new saga. It's like its origin story.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you said there was like other secrets within Toy Story Remastered, I'm like, how did I not see that? I played Toy Story EXE Remastered probably about 5 times for that video, because I didn't realize because I played it like 3 times through, and then I had to get one with the other potato head ending, and then I didn't realize there was a second Rex ending until after I was done with my script, and I was like, ah, yeah, I should go back and grab that. So where were they hidden?
It's mostly like file related things.
Oh, file related? Alright, that explains
Yeah.
it. I'm never good with that stuff.
Yeah, somebody was he was able to piece together secrets he found throughout the game to come to the conclusion. Although the actual secret that was hidden in the file, I had to help him with because it was kind of an encryption mechanism I had created.
You were locking it down.
Yeah.
Alright, so I like to ask all of my guests here a question of a versus what if of who would win in a fight. So I have customly crafted this question for you. Who do you think would win in a fight? You've got Woody.exe or Respiro, but he's missing his head versus 1 million bees.
A little bit of a bias, but I'm gonna have to I have to say Woody or Woody.exe without his head.
How's he taking it? How's he winning this?
He wins by firing a gigantic laser at him.
But there's 1 million bees. That's a lot of bees.
It's a big laser.
That's a good response. Is he like canonically the same size as Woody, or is he like the size of like a person? I just thought about that on the spot. Is he actually just like doll size? Because it's never like said he isn't.
Actually, yeah, no, that's a good question because in Oldum77.exe, it's like a big crossover between the Aladdin, Toy Story, and Sonic worlds. Like whenever he's a playable character in the roster, well, he's the tallest one of the bunch. Like the three playable characters are Aladdin, Woody, and Blaze, and he towers above them all. So I'm assuming this means that he's kind of a giant, sort
That's
of.
terrifying. I don't like that idea. Slightly unrelated, but I had something in my video because you're talking about how he would just fire like a big laser beam. Um, I said in my video, I was like, could someone like power scale this guy? Like, what's his feats? And I had multiple people do it, but I had one person like dig into all of his feats throughout the games and properly power scale it, and I'm like, oh my God, someone actually did that. I thought that was funny.
I saw
So.
that comment.
He's massively faster than light because he can avoid the beams and stuff. And people were like, he was calculating like his explosions and stuff. I don't even know. It was funny.
Yeah.
Anyways, before we wrap up here, do you have any advice for anyone who wants to get into game development, or maybe more specifically EXE games? Just anything you've got to offer.
Well, I can't say much about like crafting a good horror experience because I'm not good at that. But like, I don't know, just either watch what other people are doing, and, like see how they did it, maybe ask questions or whatnot, or like look up tutorials on like how to create a good like gameplay atmosphere, or just do what I did and just teach yourself everything. That's the crazy route though.
No, that's kind of how I was with editing at first. Like how I take it is I slowly taught myself, like some of my friends like taught me like very basics, and I just kind of like learned it through going through editing. And then if I wanted to learn something very specific, I would YouTube tutorial it. I feel like that's how a lot of people will do things like game dev or editing or whatever skill it is. I also feel like that's a really good way to go about it.
Yeah, and definitely. Oh yeah, another thing I should say is use the most up-to-date software. I've been using GameMaker 8.0 Pro, which was released in like 2010 or something like that, for pretty much all of my games. Even ToyStory.EXE Remastered was
Oh
made
my
with
God.
that. And there's no documentation on it. It's just the one help file that you get, and like that's bundled with it. That's all I got. Everything else was like, I just looked at the help file and just like, oh, that's how you do it. Yeah,
That's
if you're gonna do it,
crazy.
use GameMaker Studio. End of story.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us here. If anyone wants to find you somewhere online, where can they find you at?
You can follow my YouTube account. It's Oldum77 Gaming. I don't upload there frequently, but I'll have like sneak peeks, OSTs for my games and whatnot.
Do you work on the OSTs?
Yeah, some of the OSTs I write myself. Like
Oh.
most of Toy Story 3.exe, it was like the music in that game is written by me.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Like pretty
I
much
didn't
all
know
of it,
that.
or remixed.
I like the end remix, the You Got a Friend in Me one. I think that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Alright, well, thank you so much for joining us here. Final thoughts, don't approach a life-size Woody. I can't get over that. That's scary to think. He's towering. That dude's already tall as like a toy. I don't want to imagine what he looks like actually in front of me.